Hi everybody, I'm Dr. Stephen Stokes. Welcome to the channel. Today I want to talk about microplastics and forever chemicals. You've heard a lot about these things on YouTube. Everybody's talking about it. Today I want to tell you what you can do to get this stuff out of your body. And by the way, that's not an easy task. That is not an easy task. But what I'm going to explain, it actually works. Why, you may ask, do you still feel toxic? Even if you've, decided to avoid plastic, non-stick pans, you're not eating food that's packaged in plastic containers. You're doing your part. You're wearing cotton. You're not wearing plastic clothes. Most of the clothes that we wear now is sprayed with plastic guards and things like that so it doesn't wrinkle, right? The plastics are everywhere. Your toothbrush is most likely made of plastic bristles. So even if you go to Starbucks or another coffee shop, you get your coffee in that nice cardboard coffee cup. If you dissolve the cardboard, you'll see that that coffee cup is actually a plastic sock that you're holding your coffee in. It's really gross, right? And so plastics are everywhere. And the problem is they don't break down once they get in your bodies. There's no getting rid of these things. These things build up in the system. They create havoc, right? They create chaos. Your immune system works so well. It's such a great system. What does it do when there's bacteria? The immune system goes down there and it has a fight with the bacteria, right? It has a fight with the viruses. It kills intruders. That's what it does. Well, guess what? The microplastics, they're not living. And so when they get into the blood and into the system, the immune system gets stimulated. Wow, we got to go get rid of this. And it goes down there to fight the microplastics. And there's no fight, right? You can't kill this stuff. It's just there. And so it irritates the immune system, causes inflammation, causes an overactive immune system, can lead to autoimmune disease, can lead to all sorts of problems with your hormones, with your metabolism, right? With your brain, with your central nervous system. These microplastics, they're a big deal. And the problem is they're fat soluble. So you can't just sort of get them out of your system. They get in the system and they stay in the system. And I want to explain why that is. There's this loop that happens that a lot of people, they just don't understand. I want to really give you this information so you understand it. When these microplastics get absorbed into the bloodstream, usually from the small intestine, they go into the blood, they circulate through the blood, and all your blood circulates in through the liver, right? Your liver is the big organ of detoxification. It's your big filter. And the microplastics go through the filter, they go through the liver. Great. The problem is that as the liver filters them out, then the liver makes bile. And these microplastics don't get removed. They get transferred into the bile. And then the bile gets released into the small intestine to break down fats. And remember, the microplastics, they're not fat soluble. You can't break them down. Then as the bile gets reabsorbed through the wall of the small intestine, which is a normal process, right? Your body wants to recycle the bile. As the bile gets brought back into the bloodstream, the microplastics go back with it. They go back to the liver. They do the same thing over and over again, a continuing cycle. You can't get rid of them. And they build up more and more and more as we get exposed more and more and more. It's a tragedy. And it's really a horrible, horrible problem that we have now that we never had, never had a couple of 100 years ago because we never had as many plastics. Now everything is plastic. As I sit here and I look at my desk, okay, this is plastic. This is plastic. This is plastic. These supplements are in a plastic container. Even the stuff that we're going to talk about that's going to get rid of the microplastics and help with this comes in a plastic container. It's inevitable that you're going to be completely overrun by microplastics. So what's the answer? How do we get rid of them? Obviously, you want to avoid exposure, but that's not what this video is about. We're talking about getting rid of the stuff that's already in the system. Here's how we do it. Two things. First, we need to strengthen your body's natural detoxification process. Now, the liver detoxifies in 3 phases, right? Detoxification is phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Phase 1 means we want to take those fat-soluble toxins, we want to transform them into water-soluble toxins. That's phase 1. Phase 2, we want to take those water-soluble toxins, which, by the way, now, in a lot of cases, they're more toxic than they were when they were fat-soluble. We've released them into this more toxic state. But they're water-soluble, so there's an opportunity here for us to get rid of them. So phase 2 is we take the water-soluble toxins and we make them less toxic. And then phase 3, we take the remains of what's left over, get it out of the system, we eliminate it. That's the 3 phases of detox that you need to know about. We need to support that. We want to make sure your body has the proper amount of nutrients. Specifically, for phase 1, we want to have the amino acids, the choline, the vitamins. We want to make sure that the liver can do its job, right, to unlock these fat-soluble toxins and make them water-soluble. Then, when they become water-soluble, we want to neutralize them, right? We want to make sure that we have the stuff to neutralize those toxins. And there's a lot of factors that are involved, but basically it comes down to sulfur-rich vegetables, right? Sulfur-rich vegetables will help us neutralize the water-soluble toxins into something that's far less toxic. And then finally, we want to eliminate, we do that with fiber, basically, with plant fiber. So the first process is getting the body's own detoxification system working optimally. We do that by taking a product called Standard Process Detox Balance. And like I said, it comes in a plastic container, but this is the stuff. So what I want you to do is when you get up in the morning, I want you to take 1 to 2 scoops of this and drink it on an empty stomach. And this is going to make sure that your body becomes a detox machine. It's going to support all those natural pathways, and it's going to help get that stuff to the place where we can eliminate it. And then the next thing I want you to do is I want you to take a product called GI Stability. No. The next thing I want you to do is take a product called GI Adsorb. And GI Adsorb, and by the way, I'm saying GI Adsorbed, not absorb, and there's a difference. What GI Adsorbed is very simple. It is a purified volcanic mineral. It's known as zeolite. And this stuff has a massive surface area. And what it's going to do is it's going to circulate into the intestines, and it's going to take the toxins that are now concentrated from the detox process. And those toxins are going to bind to the zeolite. It's a binder. It's the best binder that we know. It is going to bind those toxins and then allow us to just eliminate those through the colon. That's the plan. Simple as that. And this GI Adsorb, it's phenomenal. It will bind the microplastics, the forever chemicals. By the way, it will bind heavy metals. It will bind all sorts of ugly things that you want to get out of your system. But you got to make sure that your liver is doing its job. And that's where the SP Detox Balance Powder comes into play. You use that to stimulate the liver and stimulate the pathways. Then you use the GI Adsorb to bind to what's left over, get it out of the system. How would I do this? I would take 2 to 4 GI Adsorbed before I went to bed at night. Then I would wake up in the morning and I would take another 2 to 4 GI Adsorb. And then after being up for about an hour before I ate anything, I would take the Standard Process Detox Balance Shake. And I would run this for a few days. What do? I do it for 10 days. I do a 10-day detox about 4 times a year, doing this exact routine just to get the stuff out of my system. And there's lots of studies that show this works really well. One was done on human beings, one was done on mice, not human beings, but still it's promising, right? So we know that this system does work. Now, it's not cheap, right? I think that a container of this that has 21 servings, and that's 21 servings if you take 2 scoops. And if you're a small person, 1 scoop will work, but if you're a big person, you need 2 scoops. So 21 of these is like $100 for 21 servings. And then the GI Adsorb is like another $50 or $60. So it's not cheap, but it does the job. And if you want to get stuff out of your body, if you want to remove microplastics, if you want to remove mercury, lead, heavy metals, right? This is the answer, right? And what about glyphosate, right? What about weed killer? What about all these things? What about all these forever chemicals? This is the system you use to clean the body and to get this stuff out of your body. What if you have no money? People say to me all the time that I recommend all these supplements and they're so expensive. They're expensive, man, because they're good. They're expensive because they're made by standard process. They're organic. They grow this stuff on their organic farm in Wisconsin. Okay, this is not China-made supplements. So you have to pay for it. But having said that, let's say that you're extremely poor. I get it. Let's say that you can't afford these supplements. Is there any hope for you? Well, sure, there's hope. You can increase your sulfur-rich vegetables that you're eating, right? Things like broccoli to give that system a little bump. And then what you can do is, if you can't afford to take the GI Adsorb, if you can't get the purified volcanic minerals to get everything out, you can consume half a cup of oatmeal. I mean, obviously, I would recommend organic oatmeal. And, this is not a debate about whether oatmeal is good for you or not. I'm just saying if you want to use something to bind to these microplastics, you use oatmeal. Half a cup of cooked oatmeal. And what that will do is it will create a gel-like material into the colon that will bind to the plastics and help to remove it out of the system. Does it work as good as GI Adsorb? No. Do I recommend it? No, I'm recommending the best thing for you. I'm just saying, if you can't do that and you're sick and you're miserable, beta glucan, which is found in oatmeal, has the same property. It can create this little gel sort of binding that can bind onto the microplastics and the forever chemicals and help remove them out of the system. I hope this was useful. If you're interested in purchasing the 2 products I mentioned, there's going to be links in the description. Of course, you can get all this stuff from my website, drstevenstokes.com. Thank you for your support over the years. I really appreciate it. And I hope this is useful. And this whole video came from a person I spoke to this week, asking me specifically about microplastics and about detoxification. And I've made many videos on standard process detox balance and how it works. And I thought I would make one specifically addressing these forever chemicals and these microplastics. And you can reach out to me from my phone, 239-645-2405, or you can get hold of me through my website, give me ideas for videos, or ask me questions. I offer free consultations. I only ask that if you decide to purchase any products, you use the links on my website so that I can get a small affiliate fee back for that and help support the efforts on this channel. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again in a few days. Bye-bye.